Good morning, America, and good afternoon, Europe. And hello and sveiki to everyone watching us from wherever you are. We are streaming live from Riga, from the National Library of Latvia, and New York as well, in a cycle of series where we, as the library, invite inspiring, interesting, well or less known people, also somehow related to books from around the globe, to share their story. My name is August Zilberts, and today I will be your host. He is an inventor. He's a creator and holding more than 40 US patents. Some might say a real adventurer, and also a businessman of 45 years experience, a husband and father, and also a father of sticky notes or post-its as we know them, and now also an author, a writer, and his name is Alan Amron. Hello, Alan, and it is a real pleasure to see and meet you today.
Hello, August. It's a pleasure to see you. How are you?
Thank you, Alan. Besides what I mentioned, you have also a relation to Latvia, and actually you have been here for several times, and as far as I understand, even lived here. Is that true, and how does it come?
Well, I moved to Latvia for 2 years to teach at a couple of the universities there and do lectures, and I loved it. When I first went there and started, I was just going to do it temporarily, but then once I started living a life there and enjoying the quiet city and compared to New York, and the people are very nice, so I enjoyed my stay so much that I lived there for 2 years.
Well, it's another proof that the world is a really small place, but the width of it starts in our heads. Alan, I have looked through the internet, news sites, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, you name it. There are countless interviews, articles, and other materials uh, where you are telling about your business and your success story, but they all are from like different perspectives. And now, actually, the main reason why we have met today is that you have written a book, and you have also donated it to the library, and it's called An Invented Life: The Smoking Gun. And you have put there an essence of your inventor's life, let's say like this. How did you come up with this idea, and what's the core message of the book? How do you briefly say?
Well, the first thing when I've lived an amazing life. I've enjoyed my life. I've done a lot of great things. So I wanted to sort of document it for my grandchildren because I wanted them to know what I did, how I did it, and maybe people could learn from that as well. So I wrote a book that's a little bit unusual because I did 50% in text and 50% in pictures. And the reason I did it that way is because I believe that one picture tells 1,000 words. And just to tell you a little bit of story about that, people think Confucius said that one picture tells us 1,000 words. But in fact, it was a journalist in 1918 who coined the phrase, and he's perfectly right. You could show a picture and people will understand it a lot better than putting 1,000 words up on the screen, and they'll get it instantly. So I wrote the book basically with pictures and text so that I could tell my life story that way.
Indeed, I couldn't agree you more, and that's absolutely a great idea because we use on our everyday life tens, even hundreds of different things and tools that make our life easier. But if we are talking about inventions, then rarely we know who had come up with this idea and what did that cost and how it happened. Namely, what's the story behind it? And that's what you have done here with this book. I must add here that Alan has donated copies of this book to the National Library. They will all be publicly accessible in reading rooms for free. And that's all for introduction now, but I would like to give the floor and the screen to you, Alan, now, because you have prepared an overview of the, let's say, contents of your book and your life, and please tell us a bit more about it. And firstly, I guess starting with how it all began, yes? When and from where did you get this inventor's gene? The floor is yours, Alan.
Okay, well, first of all, before I start, play the video to introduce who I really am and what I've done.
You may not know who Alan Amron is, but if you spent any time with children, the odds are you've come across one of his inventions. What was once known as a squirt gun is now a high-tech, super-powered, battery-operated, pumped, drenched, and soaked water gun industry. He's taken a simple squirt gun that sold $3 million per year and helped turn it into a new industry worth well over $200 million in annual sales, and all with a simple invention. And now the inventor of the battery-operated water gun, Alan Amron.
And that basically, a lot of people don't know that I invented the battery-operated water gun first. And at the same time as the Post-it note, all within the same year, 1972-73, I invented the battery-operated water gun and the Post-it note and a couple other items that obviously went unnoticed. Play the second video. Okay, now I'm going to go through a slideshow of different things to explain the book in more detail. So I wrote in one of the books that I gave to the library that's going to be displayed that I had the honor of living in Latvia, and the National Library of Latvia is really very exciting to me, and I'm excited about that. Okay. The book itself, obviously, I'm not doing the book to make money. It's an expensive book to buy because of the pictures in it in hardcover. It's a little less expensive in ebook form and a little less expensive in audio. But I also published it so anybody in the world could just read it for free online. And I have on the screen now the link at issue.com where you could actually go and read my book right now for no cost at all. And I just want the world to learn from my mistakes that I made in my life and the good stuff that happened in my life. Because I believe that from reading my experiences, you could prevent them in your life or make your life better. These are examples of pictures in my book. I have, like I said before, 50% of my book is in text and stories, and 50% of the book is in pictures to describe like my life in chapter 1, for example, when I was a kid and what I looked like and what I did, and right up also through when I lived in Latvia. I show some pictures of me in Latvia. These are more pictures of my family showing my life and how I became an inventor and why I became an inventor. And when I started out, inventing wasn't a business. Inventing was just something I did. It wasn't an occupation. When I invented the Post-it note, these are some of the things that I did to make the product known to the world. I made drawings, I did advertisements, I went to companies to sell it. Some companies were trying to make it after I disclosed it to them without paying me a royalty, so I ended up suing them. Articles around the world about my suit with 3M. These are different things like an affidavit showing people that worked at 3M about how they remembered my bringing the 3M post-it note, sticky notes to 3M in 1974. People that actually worked in the marketing department gave me affidavits swearing that they remember that it was me. Then I have the judge. There were judges and a lawyer that represented me at the time who gave his deposition saying that I represented Alan at the time, and in fact, he did invent this product and show it to 3M. "3M didn't invent a post-it note ever. As a matter of fact, 3M actually invented something called the press and peel secure bookmark, and they didn't introduce it till 1977, and it was a failure. And then in 1980-83, they came out with the posted sticky note, which then became very popular and successful. I also, at the time I invented the post-it note, I invented the battery-operated water gun. On the left, you could see the battery-operated water gun artwork that I did. The patent I got on it in 1977. I was in People magazine with my son demonstrating the water gun, my prototype of the battery-operated water gun, and then all of the manufacturers that started making it is a picture on the right. Now, I explain all this in text as well, but in pictures, if for this presentation, you're able to get the story of what it looked like when I first started and what it looked like when it was in the store selling. These are more water guns that I came up with. You'll notice that Brad Pitt played with my water guns. Robert De Niro played with his son with my water guns. These are all like stars that played with my inventions, which to me was exciting. When you invent something and the world plays with it, it makes you very excited, especially when you see famous people actually playing with it. Also, battery-operated lawn sprinklers for Fisher-Price and big toy companies was other items that I invented. I invented pump water guns, bubblegum tapes, candy bubbles. I mean, I didn't limit myself to post-it notes or battery-operated water guns. And I even went further and invented things like a digital barcode, changing barcode. So inventing doesn't only have to be one invention or one industry. When you invent, you create things that you want or you can't find in the regular world. You invent it so that you could have it and try to sell it to the rest of the world. One of
Yes,
the
Alan.
companies that yes.
Sorry, I have one question here. Once I heard a really interesting interview with one Latvian businessman, and he said that in order to find a business idea, first of all, you have to find something that really annoys you, and then you start to look for solutions of it. Have you applied this kind of method to your inventions, or do you have just a natural necessity to create something? Because we all know that sometimes the laziness maybe is something that drives the progress, or in other times maybe it's something that annoys us. How do you think?
Well, I'll give you a good example. If you put the picture back up, you could see on one of these pictures, I have Canali Bakery, which is a Latvian company. When I lived in Latvia, the one thing I missed the most of waking up in the morning and not being able to eat an American bagel. I mean, in America, 50% of all the people in America eat bagels every morning for breakfast. And I missed my bagel. So when I found a local shop that actually made a really great bagel, I felt that I wanted to help them go to a manufacturer in Latvia, which was Canali Bakery, who makes bread products and all kinds of different bakery items. They liked the idea, they went and did it, and we actually filed the United States patent on it, which is pending right now, on the process of how this bagel is being made, which is a lot different than a lot of the bagels made in the world now to make it taste really terrific. So yeah, having an idea isn't just coming from your head. The idea could come from something you're lacking or something you miss.
Thank you.
Okay, the next slide. I didn't only invent, inventing isn't just products. Inventing is also trying to get involved in different things in different kinds of ways. I had no experience in Hollywood at all. But when I started to speak to people in Hollywood, and I was called by a friend of mine who works for a television company, they wanted me to help them get Christy McNichol, who was a star at the time on TV, to do a special for them. So in my book, I described how I went about to get in touch with her and to convince her to actually do the show. I ended up managing her and then managing other people in Hollywood at the time, because I was doing things very naively. I would tell the truth. I would be honest with everybody I did business with. And I found that being truthful and being honest got me to places where normal businesses wouldn't get to. I befriended a Tina Sinatra, who was Frank Sinatra's daughter, and she and I became friends over the years. And from that friendship, I started an airline called Bi-Coastal Airlines. In this ad on the right, you see it's called Tradeways Airlines. That was the original name of it. It was a condominium airline. The idea was years ago that people in Hollywood and people in New York kept flying back and forth from New York to LA every day at high cost of first class, because most of them flew first class. So I came up with an idea of selling seats on a plane. So we bought two 747s and we started selling seats on it. And Tina Sinatra brought her father in, Frank Sinatra, who actually designed the canopy on the plane coming off of that plane that we had, the bi-coastal plane. An interesting story in my book, I tell about how I met J.D. Salinger, who wrote The Catcher in the Rye. Being in a library atmosphere right now, J.D. Salinger is a very well-known author in America, and I would assume the rest of the world. And I was called one day by Hollywood to try to get the rights to his book for them. So they didn't tell me that he was a recluse and you couldn't find it where he even lived, but I found him, I went to his house, I spoke to him, and I tell the story in my book exactly how I encountered my meeting with J.D. Salinger and what he said about whether or not he'd let me have the rights to his book for a movie. Along the way, I invented the first down laser line, which Pat Summerall, who's in this picture with Donald Trump, who's the previous president of the United States, me and my partner, Richard Grobman, we actually brought to Donald Trump the idea of the first down laser line for football and for him to invest in it. These are different uses of the first down laser line that I invented for track and field. We used it at the NCAA outdoor track and field championships in Haywood Field, and it's used in football for the first down. Then I met a guy by the name of Muhammad Ali. I was trying to get the Beatles broke up years and years ago when I was younger, of course, and I thought it would be a good idea to try to get them back together again. So I started a committee, an international committee to reunite the Beatles, and I put an ad in, you'll see the ad on the top right-hand side of the screen, where I ran that ad in the Village Voice, which is a very small newspaper in Manhattan. And Rolling Stone magazine picked it up. And, Rolling Stone magazine picked it up and put it as an op-ed ad or story about me trying to raise money from everybody in the world. And then articles around the whole world started coming up in Germany, France, Brazil, all over the world, where people were sending me dollars to put in a fiduciary account to pay the Beatles to get back together again. And Muhammad Ali was my partner, and you'll notice I'm sitting on the steps of Muhammad Ali's house in Chicago when I was 23 years old, discussing my Post-it notes, discussing the first down the battery-operated water gun, and the things that I invented at that time, and the Beatle reunion. Then I invented something called the photo wallet, which was before they had iPhones and phones with pictures on it. I came up with a way of taking digital film and playing it on a handheld device. We called it the photo wallet. Now, I was working on it and I brought it to Kodak and they liked it, but then Kodak wasn't moving fast enough because I saw that the digital camera was being introduced soon. So I needed to get my player out so that people could buy it. And when they took pictures with the digital camera, they'd be able to show it on my digital player. Because the digital cameras, when they came out, they had very small thumbnail screens on them at first, and you couldn't see the picture you just took. So photographers and people that were buying the digital camera were frustrated in not being able to see the pictures right away. So my photo wallet was a way for them to see the picture right away. Then Nikon Camera took it over, and they made it and distributed it around the world. Then I did an interview with CNN about my inventing the Post-it note and the battery-operated water gun. And then we had litigation. And in that litigation, I took 3M to court, telling them that I told you about this idea, you're making it, you're not paying me a royalty, you need to pay me a royalty, or to just tell the people in the world that I'm the inventor of it. In summary, in 1973, I invented the sticky back note called press-on memo. In 1974, I put the press-on memo sticky back note into commerce and gave samples to 3M's executives at a trade show in New York. In 1977, after concealing to the public for 3 years, which is against patent rules, 3M introduced the sticky back note as press and peel, which wasn't a sticky back note. It was a holder, a placeholder for a book. And then they called it the Post-it note in 1980. A lot of the newspapers around the world did stories about it. It was on the cover of a lot of newspapers because Post-it notes is known around the whole world. Sticky notes is known around the whole world. So that's what a lot of the magazines were doing stories about. Then I went to Latvia and I did lectures. I did lectures at UC Berkeley in California, Riga Stratton's University in Riga, Riga's Business School, and Latvia University. And I met the Queen's son, the youngest son, in Latvia at an event. And that's what the picture on the right-hand corner is. Again, I was doing an article in DNS Business, which is the largest news magazine in Latvia. And I was doing an article, weekly article for them in their magazine while I was there. I was doing lectures while I was there. I really enjoyed my time at living in Latvia.
Yes. What a journey, Alan. Thank you very much. While listening, I was thinking that these all are success stories. Well, the sticky notes case was a really tough one, but I would like to ask you, what has been your biggest failure and what you have learned from it? In other words, if you met the young Alan today, what would you say to him?
That's a hard question because you try to put behind you and not really remember the things you did wrong. But obviously I did a lot of things wrong in my life, and I just try to forget them. I would just tell me to do exactly what I did because I really enjoyed my life and I liked what the outcome was. So I'd really just tell my younger self, just do what you're doing and things will always work out. They always do. One way or the other, they'll always work out.
I have read your book, and I really loved the story of the sticky notes, how you came to this invention. But could you please step a couple of steps back in the past and remind Latvians and how you came up with this idea? Because I think there are many people who have heard about you for the first time. So how the sticky notes came in your mind, how they arose in 1970s, yes? Maybe you could just a little briefly.
Okay, well, so I just got married and it was 1972, 73, and I just got married, and my wife and I were living in a house in Long Island, and I had to leave a note for her because I was going to a meeting and I was in a hurry and I had to leave for a note on the refrigerator or somewhere in the house. I left it on the refrigerator and I had no Scotch tape to put it up. So I'm looking all around the house for Scotch tape and I say, look, I don't have time for this. I need to put this note up now. I don't know what to do. So I thought to myself, in my head was moving around, I said, you know, the best way to do it is I'll get a piece of gum, chew it, take a little piece of that gum out of my mouth and ball it up into a ball and put it on the refrigerator and put the note on it and hope it sticks. The problem was with that, it was very sticky and the gum was like sticking to my finger. So I went to a little part of the floor where there was dust and I rolled the gum around in the dust and I made it a little less tacky. So then I took that little less tacky, a little wad of gum, put it on the refrigerator, put the note on the refrigerator, and then left. When my wife got home, she thought that was like the greatest idea she ever heard of or saw. And I at first didn't do it as an idea. I did it because I was trying to leave a note and I had no way other to do it. I couldn't use like industrial tape or we didn't have magnets in those days. You couldn't put a pin in the refrigerator. So it seemed like a really good idea and my wife liked it too. Then I started to work on it. I developed the glue for it and the rest is history. The sticky note was born.
That's so great story. I love it, Alan. I was thinking that during the last, well, let's say 20 years, the world has experienced a tremendous digital jump, digital transformation, yes, and that has affected our daily lives, whole industries and businesses, and everything is digital, but we love to read books, to use our handwriting, to leave sticky notes. You see, some things have remained. And how do you feel about that, namely that your invention has remained timely since the 1970s? And how do you think if you had invented sticky notes today, would it be a success story of the same level?
Yeah, I do. I think that, look, I use it every day too. It's not like because I invented it, I don't use it. I use it every day as well. And in my daily life, I go around to places and I see people using them all the time. It just gives me a thrill to see people using it because I know that when I first invented it, I try to explain to people how to use it. Like with any invention, you have to explain to people how to use it initially. I told people how to use it and I tell them they put the sticky note on the wall and they would take the sticky note from me and they'd put it on the wall and it would fall down. And I'd say, no, you got to they're pressing the middle of it. And everybody in the world knows now, but they didn't know when the sticky note was first invented. You got to press the top of the sticky note in order for it to stick. Otherwise, if you press the middle and let it go, it's going to fall on the floor. So little things like that is like interesting for people to know because it's true. When the sticky note was new, nobody knew how to use it. But now everybody knows how to use it. Same thing with the iPhone and computers.
It's really hard to imagine it because we have got so used to these things, including sticky notes, yes. Alan, we have received a couple of questions here. I will read them aloud to you. Maybe you can try to answer. The first one is, so it goes like this. Is inventing something you can learn, for example, by studying some kind of things in high school or university, or, for example, engineering, or maybe reading many books, or is it a thing you can get better just trying to do it yourself?
No, it's in you. You either got it or you don't got it. It's like acting, it's like basketball playing, it's like baseball, it's football. If you got it, you got it. If you don't have it, you can't get it. It's not something somebody could teach you. But on the other hand, if during the course of your life you come across a problem, like when I lived in Latvia, my problem was I couldn't have a bagel in the morning that I liked. You figure out a way, or you find a place where somebody knows how to make the bagel better than the bagels you've ever eaten before. And then you go ahead and you file a patent on it and you try to make it into a product. But inventing is not something you could teach. I lecture engineers to keep an open mind, not to say, oh, I'm not an inventor, because everybody is an inventor. It's just that you have to have the situation. You can't just sit down in a room and say, I'm going to invent something. It just doesn't work like that. What you have to do is you have to like have a need, have a problem, try to solve that problem. And in the solving of that problem, like they say, Mother Nature is, a loaf of bread is the mother of invention, because a necessity is the mother of invention. Coming up with something that's a necessity is an invention, if it hasn't been done before. That's the hard part. Doing something that hasn't been done before is very, very hard in the way the world is today. But I'm living proof that no matter what time in life you are inventing, because when I invented the photo wallet, Microsoft invented everything that was digital. And there was just no way you can come up with anything new that was digital. Microsoft had a lock on it. And then I came up with the photo wallet, all because I felt that there should be a way to show pictures without backlit transparencies on a digital platform. And so it's just a matter of a need and filling that need. And if it turns out that need is an invention, you're an inventor. And inventing just one thing sometimes doesn't make you an inventor, but it does in fact start you on and realize that, hey, problems, I could solve more problems. I could be a known inventor eventually.
Thank you. We have two more questions. Was the digital wallet project successful, and do you know how many of them were sold around the globe?
Yes, it was very successful, and it sold all the production. I don't remember the number of the production run, but it sold 100% of the production run, and they were going to be manufacturing another run, but the problem was that things were moving so fast at that time, they started putting 4-inch screens on digital cameras. So it didn't work out, but it was successful for me. I made a few success. Some people measure in dollars. To me, the success was that Nikon made it, Nikon sold it, the public liked it, and I made a few $100,000. So it was nice.
Thank you. Which, Alan, has been your most recent invention?
I just recently got a patent on 2/22/22, which is a really interesting date, for a complete algorithm that monitors the game of American football. And what it does, it monitors the ball, the players, the field, the goalpost, the goal line, the first down line, and the sound on the field. This way, my algorithm is totally watching what's going on during the game and can actually answer any question a referee has during the game, like, did the player have his knee down before the ball broke the plane of the goal line, or was his knee not down before he broke the plane of the goal line? These are important things in whether or not it's an official first down or an official goal. So this algorithm that I invented is a system that works on the Apple Watch, where the referee wears the watch and is in total control of all the things that are happening on the field.
Thank you, Alan. And one more. There are now many startups in the world, also including Latvia, many startup companies, new businesses. Have you tried to cooperate with any of them, maybe as an investor or maybe as an advisor?
Some companies have approached me, but basically I don't like to get involved with raising money for other companies. I feel that that's like, I don't want to say it's the dirty part of the business, but when you're an inventor, the worst part of being an inventor is finding funding for what you invented. So I don't like that part of the business, although I understand people have to have startups and people have to have inventions for those startups. But that's the only part of the business that I really was never great at and didn't really like that much.
I see. It really differs how money was attracted back then in your days and today. For example, I remember in the book you wrote, and also I heard on some kind of interview, that when you invented your this water gun and you brought it to the company, they immediately gave you a check for $500, which was a big money at that time, yes. But at the same time, it was quite hard to make this invention at that time a commercial success due to Vietnam War, yes. So these things we also have to take into account.
An invention is good at timing. It's all about timing in life. If you invent something like I invented the battery operated water gun, and the Vietnam War was raging at the time, so nobody wanted guns, and in the world today too, nobody wants guns either. But when I invented it, I had to wait 10 years till the Vietnam War was over before toy companies were able to sell toy water guns again. And even then we had to make them red and not look realistic. So yeah, the environment, the climate in the business world, the climate in the political world has a lot to do with whether your invention is timely or not. And timing is almost everything. You can invent the best thing in the whole world, and if it's not right time for it, it's just not going to work.
That's so true. Thank you. And do you have any inventions like in your mind for the future, or something you're working on right now?
Like I said before, inventing doesn't work like that. I could be like driving my car and a thought will pop into my head, and it would be something that I never heard of before. And best way I could describe it is this way. Paul McCartney was once interviewed, and he was asked, how do you write a song? And he says he doesn't write a song. He wakes up in the middle of the night and he has the tune in his head already. And then he just writes it down on the side of the table. That's how inventions mostly work. It just comes, it's like something you've seen or
ready all the time, and while you're sleeping, just keep your sticky notes and a pencil right next to your bed. Alan, thank you very much.
Sticky notes, yes.
Preferably sticky notes. What a journey. Thank you very much, Alan, for this inspiring story. I think that many of us will afterwards, on the following weekend, try to invent something on their own, or at least to try to wait for this magical moment. And actually, that is not impossible from the other hand, because the more you try and miss, the more you are approaching to success. And I think I read recently about space shuttles, that we have SpaceX today, not due to many successful flights, but due to way that there have been way more unsuccessful. And a bit of luck and also being in the right place and in the right time is the secrets of this mixture. So I remind to all the viewers and listeners that the book is now available online, and also in bookstores, and also at the National Library of Latvia. And Invented Life, and you can get your free digital copy. Also, it's in the Facebook comment section. And the recording will also be available afterwards at the library's YouTube and Facebook channels as well. Thank you, Alan, very much. Thank you, Iveta. Thank you, Ronalds. Thank you for making this happen. Paldies. Thank you. Paldies. And have a nice weekend. Good luck.
Thank you. You too.